This is a short analysis of the short story "The Right Time to Fly" by Shirley Golden. First of all, I'm gonna make a short resume about the text. Second of all, I'm gonna talk about the setting and the characters, and lastly, I'm gonna talk about the ending and the message and theme of the text. Short resume of the text. The text is about Marcus and Susie. Marcus works at a landfill. A junkyard is also named. Susie is a university student who illegally breaks into the landfill to take pictures. But Marcus has to throw her out every time because it's illegal. One night, Marcus checks the fence around the landfill to make sure that she can't break in again. And at the night, Marcus finds out where Susie lives. She lives in a barge. He visits her and they have a conversation, and they talk about history, Marcus's history, and it ends with them going to see a pair of wings that Susie has seen in the landfill, which is made from a radiator and a broken clock, but only Susie can see the pair of wings. Marcus sees some rubbish. To end with, Susie disappears from the landfill, and Marcus finds a photo in the barge where she lived, where it says "not too old to start over," and suddenly he can see the pair of wings. So he has changed point of view. First of all, I'm going to talk about the setting, and there are different point of view on the setting. Marcus sees the landfill as a negative place, and he has nothing creative when he sees nothing creative about the landfill, and it can be easily be compared to a junkyard or a graveyard in his mind. An example is on line 41. Foam pads balance along railway pound like wartime defenses yet to be dismantled. The entrance is a mess of barbed wire. The description of the junkyard from Marcus's point of view sounds like it's a graveyard where everything is dead, especially the phones, where numbers are missing and the screens are cracked. They're destroyed. They're dead. Also, like they have had a very hard death, you can say, like it's wartime. It's after wartime, but they have been destroyed in their death. Another example of his negative and not creative and not positive thinking of the landfill is on line 35. On the other side of the bank, oaks and beech trees are thickening skeletons. A cloud of starlings gathers against a colorless sky, and especially the adjective colorless describes his point of view on this setting very well. That is nothing positive and only negative thinking about the landfill. It's the colorless and darkness he describes this with can easily be compared to a graveyard, or like I just talked about, after a war, death and only negative things. Susie has a different point of view. She sees, opposite to Marcus, something creative and maybe not positive, but she sees new life in the landfill. Our first example is her face is obscured by the camera lens. Her finger poised, awaiting a clean shot. She's very um, interested in the landfill, and she's very focused on getting a clean shot. She finds the maybe the death and um, the rubbish in the landfill very interesting and sees it in a creative way. Another example of that is the way she she gives new life to the rubbish and the garbage on the landfill, which can be seen in the way she sees the pair of wings. Wires on line 113. Wires spiral like springs from a broken clock. Embedded in tangle is a radiator half folded. Its corner points toward the sky, and it's like a pair of wings waiting for a release for the right time to fly. She says. Marcus shrugs. Looks like a radiator mangle in the rest of the rubbish. This quote shows a great difference in their point of view on the setting, where Susie sees new life and something creative. She sees something positive in the radiator and the broken clock, where Marcus says that it looks like rubbish. Yeah. Next, I'm going to talk about the characters. And my first, Marcus, firstly, is a very close person. He's 29, but as Susie criticized him for being an old man, and a big difference between Marcus and Susie is that Marcus wants to protect himself and lock himself in, which you can see by the quote on line 27. Think I'll check which shows that he wants to lock himself in and to protect himself, make sure that nobody can affect him and hurt him. Whereas Susie, in the opposite way, illegally breaks in to the landfill. So she's not. She has a different way of being. Marcus has a reason why he protects himself. He has an incident which affects him a lot, which is described on line 95 to 97, 98. Marcus recalls fear in his wife's face. He can't speak. He points and she rushes past him, leans out the window and looks down. He sees her mouth in a wide O, as if she is screaming, but he doesn't remember any sound. He can't move. He can't look. The incident is about his death, the death of his child, and the incident affects him to being very locked up and to protect himself, even though it's 7 years ago. In difference, Susie is a very open person, and she has a very free-minded way of living. Also, she is much younger. She's 10 years younger and has a different point of view on life. She says in online 104, it says, "I'm 19. I'll do whatever I like. I'll do whatever I like." Shows that she has a open-minded way of living, and that no rules can stop her from doing what she likes. Like the world is her playground. Yeah. A great difference also is the is the way again that she can see the pair of wings. She's younger and sees opportunities, new life, and something creative. Where Marcus again It's like a pair of wings waiting for release for the right time she flies, she says. Marcus shrugs, looks like a radiator mangled in the rest of the rubbish. The quote is very central for this text because it shows the great difference between Susie and Marcus. Susie is very open. She's open-minded. She sees new things in life. She has a creative point of view, where Marcus is closed and sees the fact that it's just rubbish. He has no imagination compared to Susie. The ending has a big difference. It has a big impact on Marcus. The meeting, actually, I meant, has a big impact on Marcus. He maybe it's because he can see himself. He can identify with himself in Susie. He's 10 years older. Maybe he was like Susie was 10 years ago when he was young. And the way it impacts on him is that he suddenly sees something positive in life, a new point of view on the way of thinking and being, which makes him at the final sentence, and damn it, he must be at the oddest angle because it looked just like a pair of wings. The meeting with Susie has an impact on him to see the it's a symbolistic way, but to see the pair of wings, and also the quote on the photo that he finds has a great impact on him, where it says, "Not too old to start over." Maybe that's what he needs to start over in his life, not just by accepting, the incident with his child, but also with moving on from his current work at the landfill. So the theme of the message, of some way carpe diem, or when life gives you lemons, it makes lemonade. That life moves on, and just because your past and your history is dark and pathetic, you can still be positive, and you still have a whole life in front of you. Yeah.